Attention, please. The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning to all my beloved students. Alhamdulillah, we meet again after a long Hari Raya break. Selamat Hari Raya, maaf zahir batin. Today, we are going to discuss about a new topic, that is sampling design, theory and practice. After reading this chapter, you should be able to understand why you need to sample the population, know the basic terminology, understand the differences between probability and non-probability, apply the appropriate sampling technique, determine the sample size, understand the factors that could affect the sample size in any study, and understand the different types of errors in research. So sampling technique is very important in chapter 3, the methodology. It is always about how you collect the data. If you approach the techniques wrongly, then you can't utilize it for scientific finding. Alright? Okay, introduction. So in order for you to have very good sampling, you need to identify the population. Okay, if you look here in this slide, questionnaire design and fieldwork give us data to analyze. So analysis will only be accurate if the respondents or target population is right. Okay, data collected from wrong people or events or object would equal to vain survey. Vain survey means useless survey. It is something that you can't use it anymore. It's not a usable data. It is not what we call the data can be utilized to produce a very good finding. Sampling, the selection of some part of the population on the basis of which a judgment or inference about the entire population is made, or the process of selecting a sufficient number of elements from the population. So it is very important for you to identify that population, that particular area. If you do have small population, then your sample size would be small as well. If you do have large sample size, that means your population is big. Okay, big population, sample size is also big. Small population, sample size small. Okay, it follows that rhythm. Big population, sample size very big. Small population, sample size is very small. Okay, and you need to remember that. Okay, in research we make generalization based on samples about the parameters of the population. Yeah, you need to understand who constitute, who consist, what make the population. Alright, that is something that you need to understand. That is something that you need to discover. Who are your target respondent? Okay, population ni bukannya penduduk. Okay, population bukan penduduk, walaupun literally the meaning of the population is equal to the residents, tapi ini bukan penduduk. In methodology, population bukan penduduk. Dia bukan penduduk. Kita tengok dekat the next slide. Okay, why sampling? Population is dynamic, component change over time, cost of studying entire population is very high. Contacting for whole population is time consuming. The only feasible way, if population contains too many members, enable calculation of sampling error, thus information character population more accurate. This is very important because you need to understand, you need to have very accurate sample size. Example. The sample size should represent the population. Okay, example. You are cooking soup in a large bowl ataupun dalam periuk yang besar, kan? Kenduri, kendara, periuk besar, masak sup. Alright, and then your sample size, in order for you to taste that soup dia ada rasa dia ada rasa apa tu, sweet ke sour ke, dia punya flavor lah, dia punya flavor, bukan flavor, dia punya flavor, rasa dia punya taste. So you take a small spoon and you take and dip into the bowl and then you taste it, macam tu. Maknanya kata 1 spoon equal the sample of the whole soup in that large bowl. Itu dia. Kalau rasa masin, tambahkan air. Kalau rasa tawar, tambahkan garam. Kalau kurang perisa, dia punya flavor tak ada, tambahkan rempah ratus. Alright? Tu macam tu. Kan? So, that 1 small spoon itu adalah dia punya sample size. Itu dia punya analogi. Kalau ikut dia punya table of sample size, if you do have some considerable amount of population and then you take 5% margin error, 95% confidence interval, kalau according to Kraji Morgan punya table, the most 384. You can also have the least number of population, tapi the sample size also small. Could be as small as 10, could be as small as 20. Okay. Defining basic terminology. Okay, population. Before this, I've talked about population. So population is not residents. Population is the entire group of people, events or things of interest that the researcher wishes to investigate. Seluruh kumpulan yang dikaji. Okay. Example. In the slide, if the CEO of Samsung wants to know the kinds of advertising strategies adopted by electronic companies in Malaysia, then all computer firms situated in Malaysia will be the population. Okay, element. Element is each member of the population. Ahli dalam sampel yang dipilih dari kerangka persampelan. Again in the slide, if 1,000 blue collar workers in an organization is the population of interest, each blue collar worker there is an element. Right. Say, okay, population. Example, satisfaction of site visit among foreign and local visitors who stroll along the heritage trail in Malacca town. So, who are the population? The population will be the local visitors and foreign visitors. Alright. Kena visitors, bukan residents. Kena ingat tu. Tengok dia punya tajuk, satisfaction of site visit among foreign and local visitors. So the population would be foreign and local visitors. Or your friend from next door, if they are not the visitors, they could not participate in the survey. Your family members also could not participate in the survey. Alright. Dia tengok dia punya tajuk. Youth awareness. Javanese youth awareness towards Javanese language. Tu tajuk of the particular research. Jadi dia punya population Javanese youth. Youth ada banyak, tapi specifically Javanese youth who live in Malaysia. Tu population. Mainland China visitors to Malacca. Mainland China's satisfaction to Malacca. Jadi dia punya population will be the China visitors who visit Malacca. Bukan pukul rata semua visitors. Tajuk macam tu. And then ada your friend will be conducting survey tentang exotic food. Kan, exotic food. Population dia yang macam mana? Population dia yang adalah the people who consume exotic food. Those who are not consuming the exotic food, they cannot be the participant. Macam tu. Population size, the total number of elements in the population denoted by n. Okay, sample. Okay, sample. Dia kena ada, tengok ada banyak sample sebab we are dealing with human being. So that's why the selection of that particular sample, the methodology, the selection technique should be accurate, should be correct. Ya, tengok. Sample, a subset of the population comprising some members selected from it, sebahagian elemen dalam populasi. Okay, example, in the slide, 200 members drawn from sample 1000 workers. The 200 members is the sample of study. Subject, each member of the sample. 200 members from the total population 1000 workers is the sample, then each worker is a subject. Okay, mudah je lah. Parameters, ruang lingkup, kawasan, kajian. Kawasan mana? Bandar Hilir. Maknanya visitor tu Bandar Hilir. Ataupun parameters, those who only consume exotic food, you have already set your parameters. Ataupun ada study tentang robot, customer satisfaction, who dine at a restaurant served by a waiter robot. Mana kata dia punya parameter, orang yang datang ke kedai yang ada waiter robot. Okey, itu. Sampling frame. Sampling frame tu kerangka persampelan. Okay, a frame may be first a class list, list of registered voters, telephone book, employee list, map, and sampling frame. So you might want to work very smart on how can you identify and restrict your search of the accurate sample size. You could identify from large area, map. Kalau Southeast Asia, besar kan, ada region pula dalam tu. Dari region ada lagi district. Kan dalam region ada country, and country ada district, district ada kampung. Macam tu. Dan dalam kampung pula ada taman perumahan. Lagi banyak. Lepas tu ada different kinds of residential types. So you need to identify the frame, the sampling frame. Sebab tu dia kena very specific. Nak cari yang betul-betul the quality sample size. Okay, sebab daripada besar kepada yang kecil, yang mana this kecil, the amount of kecil ini adalah yang paling quality. Okay, sampling unit, the element or set of elements that is available for selection some stage of the sampling process. I've discussed this study just now about city block household, individuals in household ke. Sampling process. Actually class, this sampling technique topic is very easy. It's very easy, yeah. It's not dry subject, but it is very easy. Senang, mudah sangat. Okay, major steps in sampling. The first, you might want to identify the population, and then determine sample frame, determine sample design technique, determine appropriate sample size. If a professional researcher, identifying the sampling process would be made in just less than 15 seconds. Kurang daripada 15 saat saja dia dah boleh buat decision which sampling frame ataupun which sampling technique is the most accurate, the most suitable for my study. But for the beginners, for the novice researchers, yang ni, they need to understand the availability of the sampling techniques available in the methodology topic, and then they might need to study each of it one by one, and then try to adapt, try to adopt as well. Okay, to ensure that the methodology would be perfect. Okay, sebab methodology mesti perfect, mesti accurate, mesti betul. Then there will be no one question the reliability of your data or the validity of your data. If the methodology on how you collect data is questionable, then the data collapse. Okay, ada data nampak macam wow amazing, tapi dia punya cara pengurutan data tu salah, then the data always collapse, tak boleh pakai. Alright, macam tu. Dia macam masak nasi, dia kena ikut dia punya turutan masak nasi. Kalau tidak nanti, kalau tak ikut dia punya proses masak nasi yang betul, then your rice will not be perfectly cooked. Macam tu. Define the population. Okay. Example, a banker interested in saving habit of blue-collar workers in US mining industry, target population, all blue-collar. A German advertising agency interested in reading habits of all the people, target population, German population, age 15 over. Okay, tadi kita dah cerita tadi kan. Alright. Determine sample frame. Okay, sample frame is about how you might want to restrict your search. Contoh dekat dalam ni kita studying members of an organization, sample frame payroll of the organization, those who receive salary. Studying university population, university registry contain list of students, faculty administrators, kan? Students in class, roster of class student, population of student errors, telephone directory. Useful but can be inaccurate and out to date. Yeah, why is it so? Contoh macam telephone directory, ada lagi ke telephone directory nowadays? Probably we do have it, but sometimes not up to date because of the rapid technology advancement. Sampling design techniques. Sampling. Selecting sufficient number of element. Which element? Okay, yang ni two major types, probability and non-probability. Alright, okay. So kita nak tengok go to the detail of the probability and non-probability. If you look here, outcome is a representative sample. Finding based on this method can be generalized to the target population with specified level of confidence. If you do conduct a study by using probability sampling here in Malaysia, then someone from Australia can replicate your methodology. Okay, yang tu macam tu, maknanya dia boleh generalize, dia boleh diumumkan. Non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling ni, if you think that the data is not crucial as compared to probability. Non-probability ni dia punya, sometimes it includes level of bias. Dan bias yang tinggi, ada certain element of the non-probability technique yang introduce bias. But you don't have any choice other than to use it. Yang tu boleh, then you might want to justify in your report. Okay, elements in the population do not have a known chance of being chosen. Used in cases where it is not possible to use probability sampling. Okay, right now we go straight to the sampling technique. Okay, probability sampling, they are simple random, systematic, stratified, cluster, multistage, probability, non-probability. Okay, non-probability, they are convenient, judgment, quota, snowball. Alright, we go to probability sampling techniques. Probability sampling techniques, first simple random sampling. This is the most common, the most popular, being employed by many researchers. Kan, simple random ni mana kata if you do have numbers in your hand, several numbers in your hand, you label a piece of paper 1 to 10, and then you put into a hat, and someone pick up the number randomly, and then pull one number and then reveal the number to the people one by one. That will be known as simple random. Itu analogi dia. Okay. Okay, simple random. Simple random, if it is in public, it will be different. If it is at mall atau public area, it will be different technique. Simple random, dia probably put you utilize mall intercept ataupun kaedah systematic simple random. Mana kata every fifth respondent who pass by the researcher within 5 feet distance will be selected. Those katakan interval 5. Setiap orang yang lalu ataupun pass by the researcher tengah pegang questionnaire dekat depan shopping mall, orang yang lalu pertama biarkan pergi, kedua biarkan pergi, 3, 4, yang kelima pop cukup dia. Orang yang kelima itu stop him. Excuse me, my hair time, we are students, kan? And then you might want to tell the purpose of the study. If the participant willing to participate in the survey, then you can proceed with the survey lah. Alright, macam tu. Maknanya orang yang kelima, maknanya kata every fifth respondent who pass by the researcher within 5 feet distance will be selected as the potential respondent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yang kelima pop tahan. Tahan tu maknanya pintasan, kaedah pintasan tu namanya intercept method. And then bila sudah tahan, then you explain on the purpose of the research, and then you guna teknik foot in the door teknik. Foot in the door technique is a persuasive technique. Dengan cara apa? Bagi jajan. Ni makcik, abang, kakak, adik, you, ke apa ke panggilan apa-apa yang sesuai. Ada bag, ada jajan, ada goodies, for your willingness to participate in the survey. Itu mana foot in the door technique. Kita kaedah persuasion ataupun persuasive technique. Okay. Dia macam orang kata tak sangka. Alright, then they will be willing to participate in the survey. Itu kalau guna fifth, if fifth interval intercept method, itu nama systematic simple random. Kalau tak nak systematic, mana kata tak nak kira orang, setiap orang ke 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tak nak kira kan. Mana sesiapa yang lalu lalang kan, yang pass by the researcher at the shopping mall, nampak saja kan, yang lalu lalang nampak saja, 1 tak kira lah dia punya nombor ke berapa, yang tu kita akan pilih dia lah kan, akan pilih regardless of ethnic, regardless of background, regardless of age. Simple random. Tu mudah lah. Namanya pun rawak kan. Dia bukan convenient. Convenient dia berbeza. Convenient kita sendiri pilih. Kita sendiri pilih. Maknanya kita tak duduk tu. Maknanya kita jalan melilau dekat shopping mall, nampak sesiapa saja yang kita rasa lawa ke, handsome ke, cantik ke, boleh makan ke, boleh buat bincang ke, orang tu maknanya kita selektif. We are very selective. Tapi kalau yang simple random ni, whoever pass by the researcher within 5 feet distance kan, yang ni tak kira interval tadi kan, yang kalau systematic dia kira setiap 5 orang. Tapi ni yang kata, cik, abang, excuse me, can I have your time? Yang tu nama simple random. Tahan kan. I believe that majority of you have experienced this before. In shopping mall, ada banyak salesman, dia jual macam-macam lah kan. Kadang-kadang kita angkat tangan, tak nak. Alright, that is something that you need to expect happen during the field survey. Memang tiring, tapi it is lumrah. Tu biasalah. Kadang-kadang orang tak berminat. Stratified sampling. Stratified ada 2 jenis, proportionate and disproportionate. Okay, tengok. Stratified sampling. The population is divided into different subgroups or strata. Strata ni dia ada gugusan. Stratified ni dia ada gugusan. Sampling bergugusan. Okey, apa yang kita guguskan, kita beza-bezakan population tu ada grup-grup. Grup mana yang macam dari sudut income ke, gender ke, pekerjaan, professional, non-professional, we are grouping them. Kan, grup orang tua, grup muda, grup negeri-negeri, pun ada juga. Itu pun stratified lah tu, gugusan, strata. Okey, satu proportionate, satu lagi disproportionate. Proportionate dia ikut, contoh, I need 20% of group A, 20% from group B, 20% from group C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Alright. Kalau disproportionate, dia tak ada kira tu 20%. Main ambil sajalah berapa orang yang ada, nak cukupkan numbers. Macam tu. Example here, stratified random sampling atau job level tu adalah strata. Top management strata 1, middle management strata 2, lower management strata number 3, supervisors 4, clerks and secretaries. So ada banyak, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strata. Kalau proportionate, dia ambil 20% of each from the strata. Alright, number of elements. Top management, how many members? How many members in top management? 10, 30, 50, 100, 500, 20. So 20 out of top management to, so macam tu lah kalau nak ambil kan. Alright. Kalau disproportionate, ikut suka hati lah. As long as I get 142. Siapa yang decide 20%? The researcher decide the 20%. The researcher set the 20%. How can I get 142? Kena tengok table of sample size. Okay, table of sample size. Systematic sampling. Ni kita dah cerita tadi. Okay, cluster sampling. Cluster sampling is a group of sample units or element which can be identified, listed, and from which a sample can be chosen. Ini cluster ni, dia macam strata juga. Dia lebih kurang sama, tapi dia punya macam strata, dia lebih spesifik. Group dia lebih spesifik, kan? Dan dia punya group tu small size. In terms of number, it's very small. Kan, macam yang tadi lah kan, top management, in terms of gender kan, group dia dalam satu kawasan yang lebih kecil. Cluster ni dia besar sikit lah, besar kan. Contoh macam dekat satu kawasan negeri ada 3 daerah. Okey, 3 daerah. Kalau Melaka ada Alor Gajah, Jasin, Alor Gajah, Jasin and Melaka Tengah. Alright, ada 3 distrik. We only pick Jasin, katakan Jasin. Oh, Jasin banyak sangat. Jasin banyak sangat kampung. And then Jasin is very enormous in terms of its size. Bukan Jasin lah, ada Johong lah, ada Asahan lah, ada Merlimau lah, ada Umbai lah, ada Serkam lah, Sungai Rambai. Semua Jasin tu semua. Kan? Semujuk, Jasin, semualah. Jasin dia punya size sangat besar. So from each of that particular, orang kata wilayah tu, county, daerah, lepas tu dalam daerah tu ada lagi Merlimau pun besar kan. Merlimau ni dah masuk Jasin, tapi di bawah Merlimau ada Serkam, ada Umbai, itu pun Merlimau. And then Merlimau ni sampai ke area Johong sana, lagi jauh sana. Dia punya span about 20 km from bukan Merlimau. Lepas tu dalam Merlimau juga ada banyak kampung. Nearly 100 kampung rasanya. Dalam Pekan Merlimau ni, itu baru kampung. Excluding taman-taman. Yang tu. So, taman-taman tu, kluster taman. Kampung pula ada kluster-kluster kampung tu. Tu dia punya size sangat besar sangat, luas. Kan, you just tell me how many cluster or kampung you have in your daerah. Kan? Tengok dalam peta. Dalam daerah that you are living now, duduk dalam kampung tu ada berapa banyak kawasan perumahan. Kan? Macam tu. I am living in Merlimau, specifically Jalan Pahlawan. Dekat Jalan Pahlawan saja ada 3 taman perumahan. Jalan Pahlawan dia dekat dengan Kampung Kualam, dekat dengan Kampung Limau Pasir. Itu kampung yang berdekatan. Alright. Ada 2 kampung dan ada 3 taman perumahan. 3 taman perumahan besar. Dan ada 2 kampung. Bukan kampung besar, terlampau besar sangat. Kan? Dalam kampung pula ada hundreds of houses. Dalam taman pun 3 taman dah nearly thousands of house units. Macam tu nama dia cluster. So cluster yang mana satu nak ambil? Cluster taman A ke taman B ke taman C ke, kampung yang belah utara ke, kampung yang belah timur ke, kampung yang arah darat ke, kampung yang belah laut. Macam tu. Okey, itu namanya cluster sampling. Multistage cluster sampling. Okay, basically after you have identified this big area, kan, lepas tu ada satu kawasan taman. Dalam taman ada hundreds of units of house. Alright, so how can you identify the sample size from that taman? Katakan taman tu ada 200 unit rumah. So out of 200 ni nak ambil berapa banyak? Kemungkinan kalau nak buat 50% of it, mana kata baik interval, second interval. Rumah pertama, rumah kedua akan dipilih. Itu kalau second interval. Kalau third interval, rumah pertama, rumah kedua, rumah ketiga akan dipilih. Seterusnya rumah ke-6, ke-9, ke-12, ke-15, ke-18, 21, 24. Kalau 200, if you are choosing third interval, yang tu guna kaedah systematic sampling. Then in the end you will get berapa? 33 rumah. So 33 rumah, 200 lebih kurang berapa? 65 lah, 65 rumah ataupun 68 rumah, biji rumah that represent the population. Kan? Kalau pilih third interval, kalau pilih second interval dapat berapa? 50 biji rumah. 50 biji, 200 bagi 2, 100. Dapat 100 biji rumah. Kalau pilih fifth interval, you will get 40 units of house. Kan? Itu multi-stage. Convenience sampling. If you are standing right in front of a shopping mall, you are distributing a questionnaire, then you see this buy, ya adik manis, boleh saya bantu, terus rasa macam terperanjat dan kecut perut. It's okay, I'm good, kan? Lepas tu cari orang yang you feel convenient. Tu namanya convenient, that you feel comfortable. Yang adik manis, yang tu you try to avoid. Yang tu lah, tu nama jadi bias. Makna kata you choose respondent who you feel comfortable. Tu sebab tu namanya the level of bias very high. Dah namanya convenient. But sometimes convenience sampling is the most appropriate way for you to approach. Example, If you are conducting a survey on a backpackers, there is no data on how many backpackers staying in a certain hotel. Hotels only have the number of guests. They don't even bother to specifically identify or label their guests. Kan, memang tak ada record tu. So it's very impossible for you to get the data. How many backpackers staying at this hotel? How many backpackers staying at Mandahile for the past few months? So the easiest way for you is to look around. When you look around at that particular area, you do your observation. You're watching the people movement, and then suddenly you notice or find, look, this backpackers. It's very easy for you to identify the backpackers because they are in their own uniform. They are in their own uniform. Kan kita boleh tahu lah backpackers punya cara dia macam mana. And then you can conveniently approach them. Okay, judgment sampling. Judgment sampling is a purposive sampling. You choose somebody who have the information. You choose somebody who are experts. To mana judgment sampling, those experts in certain field. Macam if you are doing a survey about tapak sejarah Kota Buruk. So Kota Buruk, nobody knows, or very seldom, or very little information about that particular area. So in order for you to dig information, probably you might want to conduct the interview by using judgment sampling. Contoh macam district officer ataupun director general ataupun academicians ataupun the chief leader in that particular area who have the information about that particular site. Okay, judgment sampling. Quota sampling. Quota ni maknanya quota lah, ada berapa ramai yang that unit, kata ada Malay, Chinese and Indian, in order for you to identify ataupun to measure the harmonious if you are studying the unity topic, kan ada Malay, Chinese and Indian. So how many Indian, how Malay, Chinese, how many Indian? So the proportion tu kena based on the general breakdown of ethnic in Malaysia. Contohlah katakan Malay population consists of 65%, the balance 35%. Macam tu Malaysia susah sikit. Kita buat macam ni, 70 population Malay, lepas tu Malay, Chinese 20%, 5% Indian, the other one 5% others. So you have balance 100%, kan? Macam tu. So kalau Melayu, dia punya kuota mesti lebih banyak. Kemudian number 2 Chinese, and then number 3 will be Indian and others. Alright, okay, macam tu. Snowball sampling. Snowball, you don't know how many population, and then you might want to look for this snowball technique. If you do have atau macam ni lah, okay, you conduct a survey about homeless people who live in Melaka. There is no data about homeless people in Melaka, kan? Tak ada dalam jawatan perangkaan, tak ada. So the best approach is you go to the field and then you ask around. So ask around itulah tanya orang yang homeless itulah, pakcik-pakcik. Ada sesiapa lagi yang pakcik kenal yang homeless, ataupun orang gelandangan, ada dekat belakang jambatan sana. tanya orang belakang jambatan, ada dekat tepi sungai, ada lagi dekat bawah pokok sana, ada lagi dekat macam-macam tempat lah, until you find no one anymore in that particular parameter. Dia kena duduk dalam parameter lah, tak boleh nak cari seluruh negeri, tak larat lah kan. Okay, sebab parameter it is always based on the study topic ataupun the background of your study tu. Kalau dekat kawasan Bandar Hilir sajalah dia punya parameter. Jangan cari sampai ke Aikro pula, tu dah cerita lain. Okay, so kalau cari dalam mula-mula satu, jumpa dekat kawasan Aikro until exhaustive research sehingga dah tak ada jumpa orang lain lagi, akhirnya your katakan snowball tu nombor 1, akhirnya sampai ke nombor 56 orang jumpa homeless. Kemudian barulah tahu ramai juga homeless di Bandar Hilir ini, walaupun secara zahirnya that you pass by Bandar Hilir, you didn't even notice any single of this homeless, kan, tak nampak pun. Kita memang tak akan jumpa sehingga kita cari. Sama juga dengan rumah urut. Rumah urut, kita tak cari, kita tak jumpa. Kalau kita cari, pasti jumpa. Okey, banyak macam tu. Alright. Dalam dunia ni kena cari. Kalau cari, confirm jumpa, insya-Allah. Tak cari, memang tak jumpa. It applies in any field, in any aspects in our life. Kena cari. Cari, mesti jumpa, insya-Allah. Carilah apa pun. And then, carian tu mestilah consistently and effortlessly. Dan mesti istiqamah dan bersungguh-sungguh cari, baru jumpa. Dia tak boleh buat sambil lewa. Okay, determining sample size. Too large, wasting time, money and resources. Too small, inaccurate results. Sebab tu kalau many of the researcher, when they are about to go for this determining sample size, they might need to look for the table of sample size. Yang paling popular, Krejcik-Morgan table sample size. Okay. Yang ni I think you can read by yourself lah. Alright, ini dia buat manually. Variability in data. The smaller the dispersion of variability, the greater the probability that the sample mean will be closer to the population mean. Precision approach of biasa kan precision ni kan dia determine by the standard deviation. Then I think you have learned in the class, kalau dia punya standard deviation is very high, the distribution data is even. Kalau it's very small, then distribution data is uneven. Dia tidak sekata. Ada satu part dia penuh tinggi, yang apanya skor 1 2 3 4 tu kosong. Yang tu macam tu. Level of confidence. Alright, biasa yang ni memang kita dah set dekat kalau follow table sample size, memang level of confidence kita akan letak 95%. Confidence interval, bisa kita akan leave 5% margin error. Okay, 5% margin error. Kita tak 100% sure kan. Kalau dah melepas 95% tu okey lah, tak ada masalah. Simple data precision and confidence in estimation ni, nama ni yang nampak ni kan, ni kalau nampak ni nama dia bell curve. Kalau your data dalam keadaan yang begini, standard error dia tidak melebihi daripada, dia ada kiraan dan semualah. Nanti I will explain you later in our next chapter. Kalau cerita sekarang nanti dia dah out of topic, because this must dia dah cerita about different part. Okay, this more about the analysis part. Dia kalau ikut dalam bell curve lah, dia bell curve maknanya data tu normal, dia normal. Kalau data normal, dia some of the analysis that you can proceed. If the data is not normal, dia kena guna kaedah lain. Kalau normal guna kaedah parametric. Kalau not normal dia guna kaedah non-parametric. Both different. Dia punya analysis pun different. Okay. Tak apa, yang ni later. Ni later. You need to concentrate on the questionnaire that you have just formulated before raya tempoh hari. And then after you get your data, then we will discuss about this. Okay, about the normality of data. Kalau cerita sekarang memang tak nampak. Sample size, okay, letak sample size. So, okay, yang ni yang ramai students dia quote Roscoe ni. Dia ambil sample size lah, general 30 and less than 500 are appropriate for most research in general between 30 and 500. Makna kata sample size ni bukanlah determined by sesedap rasa. I need to distribute to 100 or 200. My sample size is 150 or 120. Based on what? Dia kena ada based on what? Sebab kalau kata I need to distribute 100 saja, tapi dia kena based on what? Kata based on Roscoe 30 and kata less than 30, less than 500, more than 30. Itu dia punya panduan. Sample size ni should between 30 hingga 500. Dia kata bukanlah kita suka hati pilih 100 orang atau 200 orang. Dia kena berlandaskan apa? Sebab sample size represent the total number of population. Kalau penduduk itu adalah 20 juta, takkan yang sample size 100 orang ataupun sample size 50 orang. I need to distribute to 500. I need to distribute to 50. I need to distribute to 120. Based on what? What is your argument? Dia kena macam tu. Kalau tak, nanti the data would be baseless. Population 10 juta, tapi sample size 50. Sample size should represent the population. Will 50 orang represent the 50 million people? Jawab kan? Jawab. Tak boleh lah macam tu. Kalau nak represent the population, mestilah seluruh negeri participate in the survey, barulah represent the opinion of the people kan. Tapi bila seluruh Malaysia tu besar sangat lah kan, tapi tengok dia konteks apa, cerita pasal apa, adakah berkenaan dengan the service of the hotel industry in Malaysia, ke macam mana ke kan. Okay, depends on your topic. Okay, macam tu. Yang ni, this one is Craigie-Morgan table. You look here, N is the number of population, the S the sample size, the S little, S small, S10. Paling tinggi berapa? Kalau dia kata, Craigie-Morgan kata dia dah buat calculation, if it is 1 million and above, the most sample size will be 384. So above 384 tu, you notice 823. Yang 823 tu dia silap atau ada silap number. Okay, dia ada 323 bukan 823. So sampling error, non-sampling error, this one is always determined by software. Okay, yang ni kita akan belajar later lah. So it's very simple. Okay, now when to use probability sampling. So you look here, number one, when you want to reduce the sampling bias. Probability sampling leads to higher quality findings because it provides an unbiased representation of the population. Number two, when the population is usually diverse. Alright, the sampling method will help pick samples from various socioeconomic strata, background, etc. to represent the broader population. Number three, to create an accurate sample. Researchers use proven statistical method to draw a precise sample size to obtain well-defined data. Okay, this one. So if you think that the data is crucial for your study, then you might need to go ahead with this probability sampling. Alright, now the probability sampling methods. Okay, explained in a much simpler image. You see the simple random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified sampling, and clustered sampling. Okay, look and notice about the clustered sampling. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 until 12, and then you cluster them between groups that you wish to label them. You need a label, then you pick cluster 5, 6, 11, 12. Alright, something like that, just easy like that. Okay, for any of the sampling technique, there are disadvantages and advantages, or strengths and weaknesses. For the convenient sampling, it is least expensive, least time consuming, most convenient. Weaknesses: selection bias, sample not representative, not recommended by descriptive or casual research. Judgment sampling: low cost, convenient, not time consuming, ideal for exploratory research design, does not allow generalization or subjective. Yeah. Quota sampling: sample can be controlled for certain characteristics. Selection bias, no assurance. Snowball sampling: the strength can estimate rare characteristic. Weaknesses: time consuming. For simple random sampling, easily understood, results projectable. Weaknesses: difficult to construct sampling frame, expensive, lower precision, no assurance of representativeness, and then so forth, going down to the cluster sampling, easy to implement, cost effective, imprecise, difficult to compute and interpret result. Okay, does the weakness jeopardize the analysis? The answer is not. It is always depend on the objective. Okay, if the objective is to meet certain requirement of the research, then you choose this certain technique. Alright. Okay, even though the convenient sampling, the weaknesses is saying is a selection bias, sample not representative, not recommended by descriptive casual research, but for the backpackers for the backpackers topic, it's none other way that you can look for them, and then you approach the convenient technique. Alright, and the so-called for the snowball sampling for the homestay, for not to say homestay, for the homeless people. Okay, to make you better understand about our today's topic, I will share you a video that will make your understanding much better.
Recall that a population refers to the group of things that we want information about, and a sample refers to part of the population that we take out to examine and draw conclusions from. In this video, we will be looking at the different methods of obtaining a sample. But first, let's look at the types of biased samples. Biased samples occur when one or more parts of the population are favored over others. The two types of biased samples include the convenience sample and the voluntary response sample. A convenience sample only includes people who are easy to reach. If this is our population, and a researcher comes along to interview people, then he would only talk to the people that are closer to him to be part of the sample. This is a biased sampling method because not everyone in the population has an equal chance of being part of the sample. Only people that are of convenience to the researcher will be interviewed. Now, a voluntary response sample consists of people that have chosen to include themselves in the sample. So the researcher lets people come to him. This is a biased sampling method because people with a strong interest for the survey topic are the ones who are most likely to respond, whereas the people who don't feel as strongly about the topic may not even care to respond. Remember that a good sample is one that is representative of the entire population, and it gives each thing an equal chance of being chosen. When you have these conditions, you have what is known as an unbiased sample. we will be looking at three different types: stratified random sampling, multi-stage sampling, and simple random sampling. The most basic type of sampling is the simple random sample, also known as an SRS. Since an SRS is unbiased, each individual has an equal chance of being chosen to be surveyed. In other words, to be part of the sample. You can think of an SRS as putting names into a hat and selecting N of them. So if I wanted a sample size of 6, I would select 6 papers and come up to the randomly chosen people to interview them. For a stratified random sample, we take the population and we divide it into something called a strata. Strata refers to the groups of similar people. Within each stratum, we take an SRS and combine the SRSs to get the full sample. For example, we could take an SRS of 2 people from each group so that we get the total of 6 people. A stratified random sample is good for making sure that whoever is administering the sample gets in contact with each kind of group. The last type of sampling is called multi-stage sampling. For multi-stage sampling, we use a combination of 2 or more simple random samples. As the name suggests, multi-stage sampling means you have to go through different stages to find where your sample comes from. For example, if we have 3 groups, stage 1 could be selecting which group will be picked using an SRS. Let's say that I picked out group 1. Then that means I would only look at group 1. Then for stage 2, I would do another SRS to get the 6 random people. We go through different stages of simple random samples to get the actual sample, and this is why this is called multi-stage sampling. I'd like to point out that instead of putting names in a hat, there's another way to pick things randomly. We can use something called the random digits table. The random digits table consists of a long string of random numbers, and it can help us do an SRS. To use it, I would first have to label each member of the population with a number. We have 30 people in this population, so I will label each person from 1 to 30. Notice how I have written 0, 1 instead of just 1. Doing this helps us use the random digits table. Since each label has 2 digits, we will read the string of numbers 2 digits at a time. So let's say I want a sample size of 4. We will use the random digits table to randomly select 4 people. The first number on the table is 19, so person 19 will be part of the sample. The second number is 22, so person 22 will be part of the sample. The third number is 39, but our sample size doesn't go up to 39, so we will ignore it. We will also ignore 50 and 34, but we will keep number 5. We will also ignore 75, 62, and 87, but we will keep number 13. As a result, these are the people we would survey.
Until we meet again in the next episode, next topic. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.